Hello and welcome to the Velvet Revolution episode 12. Oh, I think I've just counted that. I ran out of fingers, so we're definitely into double digits. Um, my name's Ben Rice, and I'm joined as ever by Dave Noble. How you doing, Dave?
Hello. Yeah, I'm okay. Good to see you, Ben. How am I doing? This is my check-in, I guess.
Yeah.
Feeling tired. Had a before we hit record, we had a little exchange of we're doing it again now, I guess, but for everyone to listen to. I won't go into all the nuts and bolts of it, but um having a um what we used to call pulling an all-nighter back in
hmm
the day. Um, I always used to think that, when you feel a bit mental from
hmm
having an all-nighter now, excuse me, that's open to interpretation what is an all-nighter. It could be you've been out to a really cool social gathering where, you didn't even take any mind-altering substances. You just chatted and drunk herbal tea and played board games all night, and that's your all-nighter. That's your all-nighter. I didn't really do it like that back in the day. Mine was, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you can imagine. I know what it was like for me. And them all-nighters, I always put it down to the fact that I was, getting at it,
hmm
as you might say. And I didn't really ever take into consideration that it's because I haven't slept.
Yeah.
And so today, in my life, if I don't sleep, you know, I'm not getting at it. It'll be for different reasons, for whatever reason. Usually it's either I lose myself in music, I come in my studio, I call it
Mhm.
my studio, it's my home studio, and I just start, playing around and writing something or just playing around and dabbling with like something, and it just, hours pass. And I love that. And I have the luxury of being able to like not need to be somewhere at 9 o'clock in the morning sitting in an office, or having to report to someone. I've got that luxury. It is a luxury.
It really is.
So I can do that. So yeah, or it's a person. It's usually another person comes into the mix. Um, and yeah, I'm enjoying the moment with said person, and the hours pass by, same thing, and it's like, oh God, shit, it's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just recovering from that.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, oh, my car's decided to not work. So it's on my driveway. So I'm now faced with the prospect of, I don't know about anyone else, what their lives are like without a car, but for me, I hate to say it, I'm quite dependent on my car. Aren't we all? Aren't we all dependent on a car? Unless you live in a city. I live in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah, you do.
So buses are available, but they're not necessarily like, it's not like Switzerland where they're there on the second. They come if they come.
Right.
So I've got to walk across some farmlands to get to the nearest grocery store. It's about an 8 or 9 mile round trip to get some groceries, but that's okay. Back to the old school.
Yep.
So I'm actually, again, perception,
hmm
perspective. Is it an inconvenience that my car is now, I've got to get it to, someone's going to have to come and collect it, take it to a garage to get it sorted?
hmm
Is that an inconvenience, or do I convert it into a blessing to actually see it as an opportunity to actually maybe just be with myself and not get in my car to drive everywhere to do stuff, and I can actually turn it into a bit of extra fitness
Yeah.
and a reason to go hiking
Yeah.
to get some groceries.
I would just imagine you can get turning full wild man Dave into the wilds, going out and capturing your groceries in the wilds of your local environment.
Well, there's plenty on offer. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
the cats seem to sit on the back of the wall, the farmland wall. There's a bunch of cats like Cat TV, right? And they're all eyeing up the prize, which is the little rabbits running around.
Okay.
And some of them get it. Rupert brought one in last summer.
hmm
But there's one cat that has a bell on, right? And honestly, needless to say, he doesn't do well. He's got a freaking bell on.
He's mocked by all his mates.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm similar. Mine is my tiredness is also self-inflicted in that I went to the cinema last night. I've been for a while, and I was feeling quite tired, so I thought I'd get myself a sugary soft drink, and yeah, I drank a large. Am I allowed to say the name? Oh, well, we're not advertising soft drink names. Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be imagine
one
a
of the
cinema. There's going to be one of the big ones that
yeah,
is a branded can. That's one of
yeah,
those.
and I had a large. So like I managed to stay awake through the whole film, which is again a bonus for me. And yeah, but about 3 this morning, just woke up and was buzzing from the sugar stroke caffeine in said soft drink, and just couldn't get back to sleep. So I've had one of those sort of really wiry nights where it's like, yeah,
Mm.
feel like I haven't really slept.
So just quickly interject, right? So this has come up for me because this isn't just for you. Me saying this to try and like give you a little antidote for sleep deficiency at the time of speaking, because there's nothing you can do about it once your day starts the next day. But you know, and this is for everyone and for me, because someone said this to me once, it's a really good one, right? So if you struggle with, when you just, I have it sometimes, you just either wake up or you can't get to sleep and you're lying in bed and you're doing that kind of thing we do where we just, you're sort of like, oh God, you're thinking, because it's usually you're on a sofa or in the living room or something and you feel tired. So you feel like, I need to go to bed. And then you get in bed and then your head kicks in. Right. Now, I don't really have this anymore. Right? I've got quite a still, calm, because I always talk on here about my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to, I go to my happy place, right? And that's open to interpretation, especially for us guys. But anyway, and ladies, I'm sure some ladies go to their happy place when they go to bed. But anyway, look, um, where was I?
Somehow
Okay.
you've got yourself distracted. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how you did that.
So you're lying in bed, you've got that head that starts to sort of overturn, regurgitate, the clogs start moving, or maybe they didn't stop, but it's not until you lie there and your head hits the pillow that you suddenly go, oh my God, like I'm tired, but I can't shut my head up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now someone said to me, a very wise man once said to me, when you get that, the last thing that is going to help, the worst thing you could be doing is trying to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the wise response to that is actually just to get into a really nice place of gratitude. Now, the first thing you want to get into, and if you find it hard to have gratitude, just lie there and think, I'll walk you through it, right? So what I would do is be like, don't matter where I am. Normally, I get this when I'm in a hotel room, when I'm traveling. I've got to be in a hotel room. It's the first night in a hotel bed. And it's always for me a bit of a battle to feel like I'm not in my own bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love my own bed. I think we can all share that, right? So um, it's just to feel like I'm really grateful that I'm actually just lying, firstly, in a bed, that I actually have a bed,
Mm-hmm.
that my body is still, that I'm resting my body, and that I feel quite relaxed. Or even though my head doesn't, my body feels like, I'm lying down. And I've got to some degree, some warmth and safety. And maybe I've even eaten today, and that's a blessing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just to sort of try and capture that and then see if that helps. Because it does. For me, it really helped me when I started to go into that sort of trail of thought, because it diverts away from whatever the hell you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you just start to turn your focus from whatever the hell you're thinking about. Primarily, I want to sleep. I need to get up in like 5, 6 hours for work or whatever. To I actually feel really happy and grateful that I'm just in bed, lying here still. And that's the difficult part if you're someone who can't even feel still in their bed, and they're breakdancing in bed, you know, doing all that sort of like
Mm.
rolling around, twisting and turning, and there's maybe some anxiety or angst in the body, then there's obviously some work to do there. But when you're not in bed, um, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's weird actually. I mean, I had a load. I don't know whether it's the caffeine or the I don't know. I don't know. But my mind was just whirring, and I had all these thoughts going on in my head. So yeah, I just got a pen and paper out and started scribbling, and I've got like a full page of A4, just like loads and loads of. And every time every time I tried to go back to sleep, I got another sort of the stuff I was writing. I had another bit I had to add to it.
Mm.
So yeah, it's interesting because what I was writing, we've talked about this before. This idea of creating a zine, and I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable with creating images, but I've never been comfortable with words.
Okay.
And it's interesting that we are obviously doing a whole piece about words and meanings and feelings and
Mm.
emotions and yeah, it was basically me trying to convince myself that I am a writer, or I am capable of writing words.
Yeah.
And again, I think we've definitely talked about this before, but the idea that unless you start calling yourself something, no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
I think it was Roberto Rodriguez, the director, wrote a really great essay about it.
Yeah.
He sort of said, first thing you need to do if you want to be a director is call yourself a director, because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no one else is going to believe you if you don't believe it. And so it was interesting in this piece of writing. I put, I am not a writer, but then I had a page full of words by the end of however many hours I spent scribbling in the early morning. And so by the end of it, I was like, I had put a couple of I am not this or I am not that. And actually, I realized by the end of it, I am.
So maybe at the end, have you written actually I am
Yeah.
I am a writer.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to, yeah, I want to turn it into some sort of prose, into some sort of poem. I think, having written it, it's definitely an affirmation.
I
Um,
love that.
so yeah, I'll share it in a couple of weeks when I've
I love that. And this has to go in the zine, right? Early
yeah,
early on, as like this is the creative process behind the zine, you know,
yeah.
is to as part of it. This is all the TVR. This is the essence. If you are still, if anyone is listening, um, you know, maybe you've already, you know, you're with us on this, that this is the TVR. This is what we're doing. The Velvet
Mm,
Revolution is just mapping out, um, first and foremost, for you yourself and myself, you know, we're mapping out um, and processing as we go live.
yeah,
And not just in relation to every letter that we choose each week to cover, but you know, we're processing in retrospect how we relate to that throughout our lived experience.
yeah.
And
I
the
think it's a
zine,
very yeah. Go on. So
no, I was just going to say the zine is just an extension of that.
yeah, and I think it's but that's what I was getting to. I think in that this is the creative process for you, both you and I, in that we are we are basically throwing ourselves under a bus each week with a random word that we haven't really thought about
Yeah.
until that point, and then we are having a conversation. And there's a level of creativity to that I think is yeah is the starting point,
Mm.
is the spark, if you like, for this
Yeah.
for whatever comes next.
Absolutely. And like everything, right, this is the way I see it. So let's just say on average, we're capturing 90 minutes of that live as it happens, live conscious stream of thinking,
Hmm.
thought, feeling, emotion that we're articulating and expressing in vocabulary through
Hmm.
the vibrational tonal frequencies that come out of our mouths,
Good vibrations.
right? Um, there's going to be maybe, we got to be pretty fucking the hot shit to have all 90 minutes be like, really like,
Correct.
yeah. It it might be just one little snippet, which is
Yeah.
golden, right? And that's amazing because before we captured that 90 minutes, it wasn't there.
Mm.
And this is really relative to my life, right? And to the way I live my life and the way I see things, right? Because perfectionism, right? People, we've got to cover, we have to cover perfectionism at some point, I
Mm.
believe,
Yeah.
because this is what really causes a lot of problems in the world and for us as people. It did for me, right? What is it? Perfection is the enemy of good,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm too hyper focused, hypersensitive, we covered that one. If you haven't heard it,
Hmm.
go to whatever episode it is. H. If I'm too hyper focused on being the hot shit bollocks,
Hmm.
right? Um, then I'm never gonna be good enough. I'm never gonna be good enough because it's unrealistic. No one can be the hot shit bollocks all the time. Or I'll be interested to know anyone listening. Are you the hot shit bollocks all the time? I'd love to hear from you. Give me all the reasons why you are, why you think you are the hot shit bollocks all the time.
Yeah. Why you think you're
Yeah,
perfect?
boastfulness. Let
Yeah.
it be. Covered that
Yeah.
one, all right? Episode 2.
So I've got here perfectionism is the enemy of progress, and perfectionism is the enemy of creativity.
There you go, people. So thank you, Ben. So for me, when I raised that bar that I was always going to fail for
Hmm.
myself. I was always going to feel inadequate because I wasn't reaching what I thought I was meant to be reaching, right? Now, this is for any parents out there, are you a turbo dad, as I call them,
Hmm.
or a helicopter mum, which is a common name for, you know, are you parents that have such a high expectation what you think your kids should be doing with their lives, right? With their grades, Leave them, leave them fuck alone, man. Let them fucking just be a little bit creative. Let them struggle a little bit. Let them fail a little bit. Let them not be perfect.
Hmm.
Right? See how their well-being improves. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And to anyone listening who is a young person, maybe, or it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. Right? If you're someone that really strives for that perfectionism of like, I should have 100%, 90 minutes of golden hot shit bollocks content all the time, you're fucking deluded, man.
Hmm.
It ain't gonna happen. And like I say, if anyone's got the evidence that they're doing that, sling it in, right? We need to make sure we've got an email address on here somehow so people can actually, you know, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear from people if they
Yeah.
were. So anyway, um, so for me, out of 90 minutes, if it's one golden bit which could help change the course of my life or anyone else's and create some sort of beauty,
Hmm.
and for me, creativity is innovation. It lifts our spirit, our vibration. It lifts our evolution. It opens our minds up to what's possible. There's so many beautiful things that can come out of it: inspiration, motivation, um, feelings of joy, connectivity, happiness, sadness. It can make us tap into sorrow. It can be contemplative. We can reflect on it. There's so many things that can stir up from creativity.
Mm.
All right. And if we can capture just one little bit of that to make someone feel something, job done.
Yeah. 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 That is definitely the way forward.
Anyway, I just jazzed out as always.
We've just done a bonus P, like a mini P episode.
Yeah,
Perfectionism.
yeah. Anyway, okay.
You can
So look,
you're gonna look at the list now.
yeah, I've got it up. So we did K last week, karma.
Yeah.
We're on I,
L.
K, L, L,
L.
L. Okay, so let me get the L's up. Shall I read them? Can I read them?
Yep.
Where's L? Hang on a minute. Bum, 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 bum. Where they gone? Okay, L. All right. Okay. See, for me, I don't think there's a many here. So,
It's, we've not got many L's either. We
mm,
had hardly any K's.
yeah. So there's love.
Mm-hmm.
Right, top of this, love. Obvious one. Lonely. Lust.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Loveless.
Loveless. Okay.
Lazy. Liar. Now you could put lethargic, but that's lazy. There's crossovers. Should I put that on anyway? I
Yeah.
don't know. Can you think of any to add in? There's not many. I feel like there should be more.
I can't off the top of my head.
Um, okay, well, I'm just going to go over one straight away, right?
Oh, lackadaisical.
Isn't that a pill you take when you're constipated? What does that mean?
Lackadaisical. It is a sort of tiredness, isn't it? It's sort of not being that committed to something, isn't it?
You can fill that in because
Yeah, I
I'll
can't
try.
spell it. Yeah,
I
definitely
don't
can't
want
spell
to.
it.
I don't want to attempt to spell that. All right. Look, I'm going to go with one. I'm going to go lonely. All right. Boom. Bang. Lonely.
Okay.
Let's
Uh,
go.
yeah. Right.
What's
Lonely.
hang on, you're like why you what's your response? Why is your response like that?
Um,
You seem like you're like,
it's a big one. I know where I go, and
okay,
I know where I am now in terms of the conversation. Um, and I think loneliness is a real problem. I think in a world where we are constantly looking and constantly bombarded with everyone's perfectionism, uh, we can feel incredibly isolated and incredibly lonely. And I also think it's that idea of connection as well, and what connection should be. Um, and for me, a large part of my adult life was seeking out a connection with one significant other that I thought was the reason for being, I guess, if to put it, yeah, to, the whole idea was to find yourself a partner, a soulmate, someone that was gonna complete you, and that's what you would do for the whole of your life, and that's not at all how my life has panned out. And I know for a large part of the last 10 years, I would say there's been a real aching solitude, loneliness hole that I have tried to fill in many ways and have never managed it. And and it has been probably the main reason why I would say I've acted out as a human being and been a pretty terrible human being at times. And it's only in the past year and a half, 2 years, it's probably since I had the breakdown or breakthrough, as someone relabeled it yesterday.
like that. Yeah.
Um,
Excellent.
and that I've managed to find ways, the tools of not feeling lonely, of not
Okay.
feeling like I'm not connected, and actually okay with myself.
I like that. Okay with myself, the opposite of lonely. I'm okay with myself. Thank you.
Mm,
Can I just read? Thank you for being so honest. All right. All right. Thank you. Because, it's a big thing. And I salute you for doing that because just that admission shows your strength. Because you're doing something about it, and you've been doing that for a couple of years. So I salute you. Um, lonely. I'm just reading in the book of words, right? So again, it says sad because of having no friends or company.
hmm
You know, spent alone, lonely days is an example, or of a place. Another example is remote. So it's interesting that this, Institute of Book of Words says that lonely is equates to you're sad because of having no friends or company. Now, of course, that's obvious, right?
Hmm.
Is it not? Is it not? That could mean that it means that. But it's far deeper than that.
Yeah, yeah,
Far deeper.
yeah,
Because it is possible to be alone, but not feel loneliness. And alone without friends or people around you, I, I, I'm just speaking from my own experience. You know, I can spend a lot of time alone, but I'm not lonely.
yeah.
Now, there's a difference. And what is that difference? People at home, anyone listening, can you be alone and not feel lonely? Do you feel okay with yourself, as Ben so brilliantly put it? Or do you feel like there's something missing and you're not complete when you're on your own? And you need people around you, and it's terrifying to be on your own.
I also think, just to throw another spanner into their definition, I think for a large part of my life, I could be surrounded by people and still feel alone.
Exactly. This is why I feel like a big part of this journey of TVR is actually showing that I'm not going to name that book, but that's outdated.
Hmm.
And the institute and maybe the people that had a role in, I'm not trying to knock them. It's freaking amazing what they've done. It's a huge achievement, but it's not necessarily accurate. And I got that dictionary. I've already said why to because I didn't want to always be looking up stuff on the internet.
Hmm.
But it seems to be apparent that there's more. There's always more to what we're being told. Maybe I don't know. Don't know if it's relevant. Anyway, who cares? Anyway, yeah, it's true, isn't it? Like I always used to be, um, and this is common, and so many people I know who we
Hmm.
know, that have done, have are engaged in a journey of self development and introspection and doing a little bit of digging and doing the work, right? It's a common thing that people talk about where, I could be in a room with 50 people or just one other person or two other people, and I'd feel disconnected, alone, alienated, indifferent, you know, past tense. Don't feel like that now. Done a bit of work on myself to create a fuller experience, you know, so that whether I'm with people or not, I'm not walking around feeling incomplete and disconnected and dislocated from a sense of self. Do you think that loneliness comes from a disconnection from a sense of self? Who am I? Always comes up.
I think if you feel like that there's a hole, if you feel like there's a space that you're not connecting with yourself, then it's really difficult to form any sort of meaningful connection with someone else. And so that idea of, I mean, it's, I guess, the idea of sadness in relation to being alone. There is, you know, a stigma attached to it. I would say almost there's a societal norm that we can't be on our own. Like if someone goes out for dinner and on their own, or they go, any sort of activity. I mean, I love going to the cinema, and I'm more than happy to go to the cinema on my own. It's quite a nice. I mean, even if you're going with people, it's not like you connect. But I also love going to gigs, and I've done whole festivals on my own before, just because I wanted to go, and just because I'm on my own, that shouldn't stop me from participating in events or things I want to do. I think uh, I think it's always healthy and it's always good to connect and to share. But if there isn't that person there, then I don't need them to validate my experience. And I think I'd much rather be on my own and have a strong, good, healthy experience than be with someone just for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm only ever going to hurt myself and that other person if I'm not really connected to them.
Mm.
And I think where I'm going with this, I just feel like we are always thinking that things will be better if we're with someone, and I don't always think that's the case. I think you've got to do the soul searching. I mean, have you ever seen what's the film with the guy who goes into the bus in Alaska,
Um, Into the Wild.
into the wild?
Mm.
You know, and not wanting to spoil that film for anyone that hasn't seen it, but
Great
that
film. Great
it's an
film.
incredible film. But it's all about a guy that thinks he can be on his own, and the realization as he makes all these connections along the way, and that maybe life is better shared. So I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but I think it's about the power of the connections he makes along the way. But and I think that's the reality of it. It's
Yeah.
it's about making meaningful connections where there is an honesty and
Yeah.
uh, a realness to them, and not a sort of I just need to do this because I need a shot. I need a
Yeah.
picture that's going to show how great my life is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from what I get from that film, Into the Wild, and I don't know, that's just an interpretation of someone's life. So I'm only judging this and basing this on the interpretation, the
Hmm.
fictional portrayal of what I saw in that film. Okay, because I don't know the family and I don't know the person, but from what I got from the film version, the fictional portrayal of it, is that it was a very dysfunctional situation that he found himself in,
Hmm.
and that he wanted to be alone away from it and go and find himself. And I think that journey that he took into the wild, the extreme, the extremity of that, he took it right to he went to the wilds of Alaska. I mean, that's a brutal place. I know enough about it. I've not been there, but I know enough about it to know that's a brutal place. Very alienating place. An incredible place, but a very alienating, barren, tough place to be. And if you haven't got the skills, you know, necessarily to survive out there. But from what my point is that there was definitely some dysfunction from what I saw in the movie that he was running away from, or he was running to try and find himself. And that's where the film captures that journey brilliantly. It's a really beautiful film. It's very tragic, without spoiling it. Um,
So
and
do you think? Sorry, to just interject. I'm just
oh,
I'm just thinking about your journey, if you don't mind me making it personal.
of course not. I don't.
Uh, and I'm just thinking, like, I obviously haven't gone to Alaska, but there was a point where you took yourself to where you are now, which
Mm,
is, you know, a long way away from where you grew up.
mm,
Uh, and it is a place that, especially in winter, when the
mm,
holiday season is down, that you are there aren't many people.
mm.
Do you think at some point that was what you were trying to do? Do you think that was an escapism? Do you think that was a isolating sort of this is part of the journey, is to go and find peace in a place where I can just be quite alone?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I write about it, as you know,
Yeah.
and you've read that, and just for anyone listening, um, I've been here for what? This is my fifth season, 5 years. And for me, I see it as it was the only way I could get away from the crime scene, as I always put it.
Hmm.
You know, my formative years, there was a lot of ghosts. Now, I'm not running away. This was running to a place where I could find who am I, really, truly. Now, for 10 years, I'd spent like in a village. So it'd been like a transition. It's like, almost like I'm on my pilgrimage.
Hmm.
It was like a pilgrimage for me. And the pilgrimage started by I left the crime scene where, you know, the town where I grew up and a lot of things happened. There's the dysfunction of my formative years that played out, you know, and a lot of that dysfunction was me creating that dysfunction, which we always talk about.
Hmm.
You know, it just didn't all happen to me. Of course, there was some things that happened that I didn't actually, you know, it was circumstance that I inherited, but it's all part of the journey of the metamorphosis, the journey, the hero's journey, as they call it. You know, it's
Hmm.
so commonly used, the hero's journey. And I'd be interested to know what you say. I'll just continue, but I want to bring it back to that film that you watched. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I'm interested to know if they have that in that. But it started from by me sort of recognizing that I need sort of yeah, I've done loads of therapy. I've done trauma therapy, childhood trauma therapy. I've done loads of therapy. I've done loads of work on, you know, the usual stuff, you know,
Hmm.
of looking at certain things, da 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 da, right? But for me, I needed to, it wasn't me running away and not making peace with that part of my life because I have done, but it was about me coming away from that place because I need to, like a phoenix rising. I'm using all these cliches, but it's so relevant and true. Like the butterfly, the metamorphosis. I need to get away from maybe the 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 fabric. I felt like it was just I needed to move away from there. So I did it. I went 6 miles into a little village. I spent
Hmm.
10 years there. And that was me sort of preparing for what I was about to do and where I've been for 5 years, which was coming to here,
Yeah.
hundreds of miles away from everything I ever knew and a lot of people that I have a lot of familiarity with too. And for the last 5 years, it's been my true metamorphosis. You know, this phoenix has truly started to rise and risen. And I've really had to face myself. But I had to do what I did preceding that to be able to do this. And I think with that Into the Wild, he went from like crime scene dysfunction straight into the wilds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was ill equipped to deal with it. I'd done the foundations for 6 years in a village, surrounded by everyone,
Mm.
everything. I could dip in and out, but I just needed to. I recognized that this pilgrim needed to go further.
This is interesting because I really resonate with that idea of there being ghosts and residue, that sort of ectoplasm. Wherever you go, there's a memory,
Yeah.
and to to exorcise all of those demons, to get away from all those memories,
Mm.
is to go and be somewhere completely different.
And then I came here to finish writing, right? To
Mm.
finish what I'd started. And you know, I didn't just leave the crime scene and those ghosts of the past and that might have haunted me once. You
Mm.
know, I didn't just turn my back on it and go, I just can't go there. It's too painful. I've got to just run away. It wasn't like that. It was like a conscious decision to go, oh no, I need to, there was a calling. I needed to go here. There's a calling, right? I need to be in a land which is really gentle, where people don't bid their horns because they're a little bit uptight that day because they're
Mm.
late for work and all that bullshit. You know, I need to go somewhere it's softer.
Mm.
There's a lot of people that come here because they're all on the same journey.
Mm.
They're all at a point where they want to get into the land and have a gentle, kinder, more loving experience without getting caught up in all the bullshit that you don't need to get caught up in. And it's
Yeah.
that place, only in that place, that I could really look at myself really properly and really get to know who am I. And that loneliness, you can't do that if you're lonely, man. it ain't gonna work. And there are people that come in and do it, and they return. They can't hack it. They're not ready.
Do you think you ever felt lonely there? Do you think you always felt,
Oh no, I have done. Yeah, of course.
but was it tinged with sadness or was it tinged with an acceptance?
It was actually met with healing,
Mm,
growth, because I did cry. There's been tears,
mm,
but there's been immense growth in it because I've been in a place where I haven't been able to just have that knee jerk. I need to act outwardly on it and feel that, just sitting with myself and facing that sense of I've healed because I'm healing, but I've healed considerably more by being able to not feel that void. You know that feeling of like when you're sitting with yourself and something comes up and you feel that loneliness,
mm,
right? And you reach out, you call someone, or classic one be I just get on Tinder
mm-hmm,
or any other dating app. Doesn't matter. I'm just using dating apps as an example. It's really easy just to get on, a platform to use that so I don't have to sit with myself and feel what I'm feeling, to
mm,
process what I'm trying to process, but I don't want to process it because it's too uncomfortable. Like that loneliness. Of course, I felt that down here. Yeah, but
mm.
I've turned into it. I've leaned into it instead of running away from it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, no, it does, and I think it's a strange sensation to go from feeling very alone and reaching out, as you said, for dating apps was definitely my Achilles heel, and meeting people that I knew weren't right,
Mm,
and I knew I wasn't right. I think I kidded myself that I'd done some sort of work and I'd done some sort of healing, and it was enough. And it's only in the past year and a half where I have just completely stepped away and just accepted more things about myself,
mm,
more understanding of who I am and what I want to be. And in doing that, I don't feel lonely anymore,
mm,
which is really strange. There's times I feel, yeah, there's times I feel alone, but there's not a sadness to it. There's an acceptance
mm,
to it, which is very, very different. And there's an acceptance of who I am and how I'm going to be in certain situations. But we're not in certain situations in life, and that means now that I don't necessarily seek someone to complete me. I mean, I can't remember where I got this from, but there was an idea that that we're all in complete circles. There's a Japanese term for it, and I can't remember what it is. I'll look it up in a minute. But the
oh,
idea being, the idea being that you're finding someone to complete your circle.
yeah,
And actually, what you really want to do is you want to be two complete circles interlinked, because then you're really strong and no one can break you.
yeah,
And I think that is a problem, is we're constantly looking. Sorry, I'm being generalizing there. I think I have always felt this hole. I've always felt this gap in the circle, and I've always looked for people to complete that. I've always looked for shortcuts. I've got all the self-help books. I've got if I just buy myself this pen, then I will draw more. If I buy this paintbrush, I'll paint more.
mhm,
It's all about, if I just do this, and actually what I need to do is just go. I just do it. I just do. I am,
mm,
and I am doing it, and I am speaking about it, and I am writing about it, and I am making about it,
mm,
and I'm creating about it.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Two words that came up for me: just be,
Just be.
just be. Right, and that's a really simple premise, but really hard to experience. Just be. You know, it's okay. Now if you are someone that can naturally, and you find it quite easy an easy task to just be in any situation, then it's probably likely that you have a good sense of self, a strong sense of self. Yeah, there's some authenticity there that you know who you are because you're very content with just being. Yeah, whatever that may be to you. Now, what I was describing, what you asked me, and what I went through, I know that when I was still living in that village for 6 years, and I'd done a lot of work on myself at that point, but in hindsight, I'd done a lot of work on myself, but I still found it really hard to just be.
Mm.
All right. And this is why, you know, where I am, where I've been for the last 5 years, this is where I really truly stepped into that, being able to just be, whether I'm just sitting at home, you know, and I don't know, staring out from my front yard over to the ocean, because I'm very lucky to be able to do that,
Yeah.
and just be. And sitting out on the lawn with Rupert, my cat, and just being like Rupert is the greatest Zen master I've ever fucking encountered. I'm very lucky to have him because he teaches me and reminds me they're the masters of it. Cats are incredible at just being,
Mm.
right? So that's what I've been cultivating and practicing since I've been down here. Now, that film, going back to that film Into the Wild, it's you could see the journey. He had moments where he was with people and he was getting further and further into that metamorphosis, his metamorphosis of being on his own,
Mhm.
slowly relinquishing um, all things material and all things societal.
Mm.
And then he ended up just being in the wilds with nature as it happened. Now there's a sort of like, I'm going to use the word God consciousness to that,
Mhm.
right? And to anyone that struggles with that sort of concept or word, let me frame it. There's a real connectivity to that experience of just being part of something greater than yourself, right? And that is perhaps divine.
Mm.
Okay, like how beautiful that you're in the wilds with all these conscious, present, just being creatures and things. I don't know what to describe them. You know, when you're in the wilds, when you're in nature, no one's got an agenda. Well, their motive isn't, you know, look, of course there's a certain essence to it. You know, there's some hunters and gatherers and there's all these different animals and elements to nature that they have got an agenda maybe. But it's not it's pure. It's not got an ulterior motive. It's just what it is. And us crazy mad fucking humans, I just feel are so far removed from what ours is.
Do you think that's why
I'm
it's
not, and I'm sorry to say we like. I don't mean you said earlier to generalize everyone, but the world we live in, I only have to look around. Not so much down here because everyone down here is a little bit more in line with what I'm talking about, my experience and more. But but you go up to any city or anywhere in the world where they're not living in the way that I just described.
yeah?
What's the motive for everyone scrambling around? Is it maybe possible that everyone's just really immensely lonely and feeling immensely disconnected from their truth, from a true sense of I know that I'm probably not meant to be living in this way. I'm pretty sure this is really far removed from like I dream of being in the wild. I dream of being on that island, or I dream of being in this like wooded area and nature and surrounded by this gentle, connectivity. Like maybe that's where your head's at when you're sitting in that office doing a job you fucking hate, 9 to 5 in a city. Maybe that's where your head goes, that you're dreaming of that place, that other place. Why don't you just fucking make it happen?
Do you think? And yeah, mainly because you've brought up the sea. I just wonder whether it's easier. I mean, I've always loved living by the sea. I lived in Brighton for a period of time in the early noughties,
Mm,
and I just feel like there's something about being by the sea, the vastness of it. There is that there is something very uh humbling about it, almost like isolating. You've just got this huge, vast thing. You can't
mm,
even comprehend how big it is or how deep it is. And
mm.
I feel like being by the sea is very grounding, definitely for me. And like you said, like you live in a space where the sea is everywhere, and it has such an effect on life of where you are. And I do think that people that live by the sea, and this again is a huge generalization, but just do tend to be quite a lot mellower.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, from what I've seen, two words come up, three words: force
Okay.
of nature.
Okay.
Force of nature. It's a common term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that guy's such a force of nature when he enters the room, or, the ocean is a force of nature, force. It's powerful. It's a powerful, powerful thing, right? Now, there's a lot of healing in that. It's therapeutic, right? Doctor, I'm not having a dig at doctors here. I think they're amazing people, some of them. Um, but doctor, I've got this thing that's wrong with me. Doctor, I've got this thing that's wrong with me. Okay, well look, here you go. Take that. Come back in a week if it's still a problem. Right? There's that, and then there's force of nature. Right? Now, there is a difference between them two ways of going to get your um medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, I'm not saying if I go to the doctors, right? I'm not saying I never use a doctor. When I've got things going on, I'll go to a doctor, right? And I'll ask him, and I'll talk to him and say, "Look, doctor, I've got this going on." So I'm open to what the great work that they do, and they can help, right? And they have done, and they will continue to do that. So I'm not saying it's not black and white,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know that if I go and have an immersive experience in the force of nature that is the ocean, I'm going to feel fucking great, and it's healing, right? So I'm just saying that, is it possible that there's something really, really incredible that is accessible? Now, I get it. I used to live 2 hours to the nearest ocean,
Mm-hmm.
like Brighton or wherever on the east coast, Suffolk, wherever. Not into Southend, but didn't really have the beats that I wanted. But if you can get to the ocean, how many people listening do you go to the ocean when you feel you really need to connect to that force of nature? No, I'm not alone. I used to always end up at the ocean. I used to run to the ocean when I needed to feel like I needed, when I feel like things were getting too much and I felt like the walls were closing in, I'd end up at an ocean. Historically, why is that? So I've just made a conscious decision to be with it all the time
Mm-hmm.
because I want to heal. I want to heal, right? I don't want to be, you know, I tried other ways of, you know, medicating to try and heal. Didn't work for me. Might work for other people. Didn't work for me. So this is my other way of doing it. To be meditative, immersed with the force of nature. And do you know what? It has just skyrocketed my being. That just be is amplified so much, man.
Mm.
I'm buzzing from just being.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've done a good tourist board talk there for everyone to move to the seaside. Yeah.
So yeah, don't all come here though, because it's too busy in the summer. But but I also love the force of nature that is woodland, forests.
Yeah.
I also like the force of nature that is, look, Native American, Indian, right? Lakota people, or I've got a tiny little bit of knowledge from that because I did that Inipi
Mm-hmm.
um ritual. I was blessed to do it, and I was really into what they were teaching me, what I was taught, which is, the force of nature. This is what I'm talking about, and this is for everyone. Air, fire, water, earth, force of nature, man. Are we using that in our lives? Um, it doesn't have to be water, fire. You know, don't want to be going around setting light to everything, people. But you know, when was the last time you had a fire? When was the last time you sat and was just being? And I think everyone can relate to this, surely, right? Maybe they can't, but I'm pretty sure that people, I know I really would end up either at a water's edge, ocean, river, lake, right? Water, or any opportunity where I was like, like you're in a pub and there's a fireplace and you want to sit by the fire. And you don't have to sit there looking at your freaking phone. Get rid of your phone, fuck's sake. Put your phone down. Just be in front of the fire. Watch the fire flames flicker. Watch the fire flames flicker. There's something really beautiful about that, man. You know?
Mm. Yeah. I
And
mean,
and air's all around us. And for me, air is breathing.
yeah.
We can't appreciate the air if we're not breathing, people. So we've got to learn how to breathe properly. And the earth is, you see, if you feel you're not grounded, because this is all relevant to loneliness, right? Because for me, I can still feel lonely if I don't feel grounded. As soon as I feel grounded, I'm connected to source,
Mm.
right? To source. I'm not talking about HP sauce or ketchup. I'm talking about like force of nature, the power that is in all around us, right? Even in a city, if you're in a hustle bustle city, go to Hyde Park, get your fucking shoes and socks off. All right, don't matter if it's winter, get your shoes and socks off. Stand on the grass, close your eyes and breathe the fucking air in. And get connected, get grounded. And maybe that loneliness for a second, even for just 1 millisecond, you will just feel connected to something bigger than yourself.
Get out of the concrete. Get out of the concrete and yeah, and feel connected to
Mm,
something that is bigger.
So I feel like I'm really getting into like this forceful rant of ah, but I'm really passionate about this stuff because of the work I do, right? And it's not just that, but I can just use because of the work I do. I have to. I'm involved in helping people who are in a clusterfuck,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're in their heads. They're in a prison of their minds, and they're feeling maybe that they're either addicted to something, right? So they're medicating, self-medicating, right? And there's some dysfunction there or whatever, right? Or whatever. And I'm having to deal with people who are caught up in an episode. And usually it's lovely when they are participating in recognizing that and they want to get out of it and they want to do a bit of work. And I can help them a little bit and point them in the right direction. And some of them don't want to, they're not ready yet.
Yep.
And that's where my work's cut out, because I've got to try and, you know, coerce them into opening their minds up to there is another way of doing it, all right? But I'm passionate about this because I see that the people that I've worked with have got caught up in, entangled in certain learnt behaviors to just cope and survive, thinking, I haven't got an alternative way of doing my life. So therefore, I'm going to struggle and suffer in
Mm.
silence and feel alienated, dislocated, disconnected, lost, lonely, alienated, ostracized, misunderstood, confused, scared, fearful,
I
afraid.
think that that ability to, like, you'll look when you feel like that, you're wanting. I believe that people are wanting to be heard. They're wanting to be seen. They're wanting to be understood. But no one else is going to do that work for you. No one else is gonna write your story. It's about you. It's about you understanding why you are doing that.
Mm.
And it's so difficult to do that work when you're in the eye of the storm, if you like. And it's so difficult to sort of point that out to people. Like, this isn't for me or you to solve your problems. It's about you grabbing the narrative and seizing the day, kind of thing. It's about you saying, like, this is how I feel. Why do I feel like this? Why these things keep on happening to me? Not passing the blame on someone else. It's about going, right, where are those holes from? And I've the circle I was referring to earlier is the Enzo circle,
That's it. Yeah.
and the whole idea of being incomplete. You're imperfect. You're allowing for something else to happen.
Yeah.
But there's growth there. That hole is a sign that that you can develop. You can be more. And too often, I mean, we started with perfectionism. We did a secret P, and I do think that's it. I think we are sort of like, everything's meant to be perfect, and nothing is. No one is. Like, there's 2.4 children. This the Labrador, the Land Rover, the perfect house. There's darkness underneath all of it,
Mm.
and it's just about accepting that, and about how we then find peace with that, with those holes, and with that search for perfection. Because I think there's so much rage, so much sort of resentment at people that we see as being perfect.
Mm.
And ultimately, we know you know so many. I think we equate perfectionism with wealth. I think
Hmm.
that's where definitely Western society is at. It's capitalism. It's about us, wanting, having everything.
Yeah.
And that's, so we equate that, and then we can't quite work out when these really rich people, absolutely, you know, tank out, absolutely mess up with life, because
Yeah.
that hasn't solved all their problems either.
Yeah.
And it is about simplifying and purifying, and finding connection with stuff that isn't monetized, that isn't
Mm.
isn't about uh popularity, or what's seen as
Mm.
popularity. More is less is more.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really obvious when, because what we were saying earlier with the loneliness, where we've gone with this, we're lonely, to assume that if we are in community with others, that
Mm.
will solve everything.
Hmm.
Now, to some degree, of course, I'm the biggest advocate of get out of me, my, I, that self-centered attitude, and start to open up and connect to the we
Hmm.
and community and fellowship. And it's incredibly important to do that. And they don't have to be humans. They can be animals. All right. Although of course it's very nice to have a fellow human in the mix. But I feel like this is that's too obvious to say that the answer to our problems when we feel lonely is to just connect to other people,
Hmm.
have community and fellowship and the we. Of course we do, right? That's a no-brainer. But this is far deeper than what that book of words was saying. Far deeper. And I feel like this is where we've gone with it. And this is why I'm getting so passionate about it. Because I, like I said earlier, had that 6 year period where I did 10 year period, sorry. It was 10 years that I moved to that village 6 miles away from the crime scene.
Yeah.
Where I was surrounded by, I was like a face, man, in town. I knew everyone, and I had, I was in the freaking my epicenter of the we. I was never on my own. Couldn't be on my own. I was scared of being on my own. I was terrified of being on my own. But I never knew who I was for that whole period of my life, up until 34. I never knew who I was. I was not. I was so far removed from any sense of who the fuck am I. I didn't know who the fuck I was. Anyway, and then like I spent 10 years of recovering from, addiction, drug addiction, all that stuff in that village. And it was an incredible 10-year period of my life where I started to, really sort of reconnect to a sense of, a journey of recovery and self-exploration. And again, I was connected to fellowship and we and your community and all of that stuff. But in the last 5 years down here is why I've got this 5 year experience being down here has shown me that there's more. I still hadn't really truly learned how to just be with me and without the we.
Hmm.
Not in a self-defamation way, in a like a really beautiful getting to know who I am way. All right. And what you just shared about the we quantify a measure of well-being and success and all that stuff in all the wrong places, maybe. Um, and so I don't rely on that down there. It's impossible to rely on that down there, you know. I'm interested to know what the film you watched.
The one last night.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you said because before we recorded, you was talking a little bit about it, and they have because those movies, DC, Marvel. I can't remember who else. Is it just DC and Marvel?
Yeah.
But they've always had a conscious because I saw a documentary on the original guys that created all
Hmm.
that. Was it in New York? They all went to New
Mm.
York and had a studio there, and they all sort of worked. And they were very creative. They were all artists and all of that. And a couple of them were the business minded people, but they made a conscious decision to. They recognised that society and communities, especially young people, would really benefit from having good role models with a really good, strong sort of spiritual message of or guiding principles for life.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
But
think yeah, definitely of the time. I mean, if you look at uh, the big two, you got Batman and you got Superman,
yeah,
and you've got, the two very different takes on what a hero can be.
mm,
And I think that's why it's difficult now for us to. I think Superman as a character has struggled because he doesn't do dark very easily, and there's that fallibility. He's kind of perfect at everything he does, and people can't sort of
and,
get on board with that.
and which film was it that I remember that it really was a bit. It was a bit weird. I remember getting a bit freaked out when I saw that Superman film where he got pissed drunk in the bar and he started fighting everyone and
Yeah, was that two or three? And he sort of lost his powers, and he had to. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That really spun me out when I saw that. I don't know why. It really affected me. It's almost like, what the fuck, Superman? What are you doing?
yeah,
You mad fool.
yeah. Whereas now, like, it's kind of like there's so many anti-heroes. And the film, yeah, I went to see Thunderbolts last night,
Okay.
and it's very much I'd say it's Marvel's take on mental health. You
Mm.
know, the hero is like an anti-hero. Well, sorry, the villain is someone that's struggling with their mental health, and it was he gets given this super serum to turn him into a superhero,
A
and
super serum, that's, oh, no, I won't go there. Go on.
and
Sorry.
yeah, and he actually, completely just doesn't see the point in anything. And then you've got all these anti-heroes that have sort of been on the edge of Marvel universe that are, yeah, kind of all sort of, yeah, not particularly liked characters.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I enjoyed it. I thought, Marvel's disappeared, got a bit formulaic, and it was interesting to do something a bit different and to look at the world a bit differently.
Alright.
Um,
Is there any similarities to the subject we're talking about, loneliness and lonely? Is there anything you can draw from that that sticks out in the film?
well, very much it's about, all of these characters are used to fighting crime or baddies or whatever, or doing assignments on their own. And it's very much about them becoming a team and actually looking out for each other.
Oh, okay.
So,
So,
so yeah, it does work on that level as well.
because
There's,
sorry to interrupt. There's a loneliness to people that are of service,
yeah,
to fellow Earthlings. Um, there is a bit of a loneliness to that.
yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Well, yeah, so the Florence Pugh character, Black Widow's sister, is yeah, that's how the film starts. She's sort of sitting on the edge of the building, top of this massive skyscraper. It's in Malaysia, so I don't know what the biggest. They've got huge buildings.
I've driven past it.
Yeah, and she's
I,
sort of sitting on the edge of it, just going, "What's the point? I just don't get the point of what I'm doing anymore. Just feel alone. Still feels pointless. Why am I doing these missions?" Um, and it is very much about them coming together as a team throughout the film and seeing that actually they're not all on their own, and they are able to work together.
and we've covered this before about the sort of using the analogy of a superhero, how they create these personas because they're born out of a need to survive because at the root cause of their I don't know that happening. The driver for it is there's a trauma normally.
Mm.
So maybe it's the unresolved trauma.
Yeah,
And they're running around as the superhero with unresolved trauma.
yeah,
But when they sit themselves, they're sitting with unresolved trauma. So there's a disconnect.
yeah, and it's very much they almost there's bits in the film when they're competing as to who's had the most traumatic childhood, and
Oh, really?
whereas yeah, yeah.
Really?
So there's all that going on as well. Yeah, I just thought it's a really good film. It's a
So
really interesting film, I
do,
thought.
do you feel that there's some codependency that they need to look at? That they're not looking at their shit, I mean, God, can you imagine being like the psychotherapist or the psychologist or whatever or life coach, whatever, for the superheroes? Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that'd be
That'd
quite a
get
job,
cool.
wouldn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're fucking, I don't know, like Ant-Man coming to you. So tell me, Ant-Man, when did you first have these thoughts of becoming Ant-Man?
Well, there's that. I went to a brilliant talk by Lem Cisse, and he does this whole piece about how orphans. You look at literary heroes or any kind of hero, and they're all orphans.
Is
They're
it? Yeah.
all looked after children. They're all, we give every hero this terrible sort of backstory of like trauma and abuse and neglect, and then they're meant to come out of that and turn into these incredible adults that uh, are our heroes. Harry
Mm.
Potter, um, Batman, Superman. They're all, their parents die at the beginning. That's their sort of
Mm,
origin story, isn't it? Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah, their parents are dead, and now they've got to try and save the world.
And that's a huge expectation put on their shoulders. I know we're talking about fictional characters here, but we've always used this as a metaphor for reality of some people's lives. I know it was for me, where we create this superhero to get through life because we might feel lonely, right? So we create
Mm.
a twin persona to put the mask on, say, I feel lonely, but I need to put this mask on to step into a social situation and be my other persona. But then we come back from that, and then when we take the mask off, we take the cape off and the sexy hot pants and the Cuban heels.
You're
I don't know.
so-
I don't know what I'm trying to create there.
yeah, I'm interested to see what your superhero look is.
And let me go through that again. So I'm thinking, yeah, that's like a Mexican wrestler look, isn't it? I'm going with the Cuban
Yeah,
heels, the hot pants, and the cape. That's getting towards the Mexican wrestlers. I've forgotten what they're called.
I don't think. Well, they probably yeah, they probably have got a specific name, haven't they? But I
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
Like, isn't there a Nacho Man? Is that like a Jack Black thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, when they take their yeah Cuban heels and their sexy hot pants off,
Yeah.
and they're done with their duties for the day. What do they do? What do they do? Who do they talk to who can possibly understand them? Do they get on the phone to, the other superhero and go, yo, how's it going? I just need, I just thought I'd reach out and have a chat, you know? Um, do you think it works like that? Or do you think they've got like, I don't know, Superheroes Anonymous? Can you imagine? I don't know. I mean, this is like I'm talking in real life though, like what do we do when we come home, when we return and we take the mask off and we're met with ourselves and we haven't got the ability to just be.
I think that's very much the modern narrative, and I think that's what that film last night showed is that the 80s, like you're talking about with Christopher Reeve and that Superman, the 80s was very much right. He's the pinnacle. He's red, white, and blue, and he's putting the American flag back on the White House, isn't he? At the end of one of the films, and it was just like the hero is everything. Whereas modern day now, we like our heroes a bit broken and a bit dark, and actually they do. A lot of the stories are about their isolation. Actually, they've gone through that journey of being absolutely broken, and they come out the other side as the hero with all this adulation, and they've saved the world. And what next? And I
Yeah,
think that is very much where we sit as humans at this moment in time. It's like we're doing all the stuff, we're doing all the things that we're meant to do. We're having the kids, we're doing the jobs, we're doing the holidays, we're doing all of these things that society sort of tells us we should do, you know, but we're still feeling quite hollow and empty at the end of it. We're still at a point where actually this hasn't filled the hole. This hasn't,
yeah,
this I still feel incomplete. So what next? What do I do now?
yeah. Well, you've already shared, and I think I have, of what we've done.
Mm,
And anyone that's been listening and, or you're not sure and you've only just found this one, listen back and you'll hear a lot about what I've done and what you've done to try our best, to the best of our ability, to make sense of this crazy ass experience that is being human on this planet in
mm,
the current state of affairs, because it is quite by its very nature, quite an isolating, alienating world to be in because of the way it's framed and continues to be so.
mm-hmm,
You know, it's COVID has got a lot of influence on. There's a lot of loneliness and a lot of that was a tough one.
mm,
That was a tough period for a lot of people. I kind of excelled in it because I'd already done the groundwork to be able to cope through that, to deal with it in a way that I know is 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 healthy anyway,
Hmm.
skillful. Um, yeah, it's a tough one, man. It is. It's a tough one. I feel like the loneliness that we feel, that I can feel. You know, how do I relate to loneliness and feeling lonely today? I still have days. Like, you know, the 5 years that I've been here, the first three, I wasn't sure. You know, I was working on finishing writing, doing book stuff, all of that, and working on, of course, you know, podcast stuff, all of this sort of
Hmm.
stuff. So that's been really, really great because I'm collaborating. You know, I'm collaborating, and like every other superhero that we've talked about, you know, I put on my mask to go out and help other people and be of service. But that mask is not a conceptual. Um, it's not conceptual in the way that it used to be. You know, I used to put on a different mask. You know, it was a bullshit mask. I'm presenting to the world a false narrative, and then I come home and I want to kill myself. You know, I'm not going to do it, but I feel like I want to. You know, I feel
Mm.
just really shit, depleted. And that's putting it mildly. It's not that mask. The mask that I put on now is almost like, I don't even know if it is a mask. It's more like I'm just putting on a pair of Cuban heels so that I can walk and act in a certain way to get the job done. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's not a false narrative. It's just in line with the work I do to help me do the work to the best of my ability to serve other people. But I'm not masking anything. You know, I'm very, very um, transparent with who I am, what I am, without wearing a mask and a false narrative. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, what I just said.
Yeah, I think it's about being boundaried. I think that's what you're saying. It's about I know I have a really strong sense of who I am, more so than I ever have done in the past. I know what it is that I can be. And yeah, I don't necessarily need the Cuban heels. But it's about saying that this is enough. There's a it's about knowing, actually, no, this is how much I'm going to give to this part of my life, and this is how much
Mm,
I'm going to give to this part of my life, and this is what I'm going to give to me. And
yeah.
I think that's really important in terms of that boundary setting, because too often in my past, the boundaries have been blurred very, very easily.
Mm,
In that quest to not be lonely, I will I will not say, actually, these are my needs. This is what I need at this moment in time
mm,
to function as a human being. And it ultimately led to me making really poor decisions that
mm,
affected my mental health and also affected other people that I connected with. I'm sure, because
mm,
um I was a asshole, for want of a better word. And I treated people really poorly. And it was all from a self-serving need. It was all from me saying, this is what I need,
yeah.
and I'm going to get it, and then I'm going to go, and I'm going to leave, because that was all I could do at that point, because I wasn't examining my own needs, in a sense that these are the boundaries I need to set, and this is what I actually need to do for me to be better and to be healthier.
Yeah. I like that. I like what you're saying. Yeah. It's something that, because this whole loneliness that I'm gonna presume, and it's not just presuming. You only have to look around. You see people that are lonely.
Hmm.
There's a lot of lonely people there, and it's in the eyes. You can see. You just read people's energy, man. There's people that they're out there. There's a lot of happy people who are really connected to a sense of, love, and they you can tell there's a lot of joy in a lot of people's lives, but you can see the people that are, you can see they're just lonely,
Mm.
right? And it's like getting back to that yin yang thing, right? Of, do you think we just, some people, it's their life's path to experience immense loneliness, to then transcend that loneliness into connectivity and a feeling of I am enough. And because I know I am enough, I can then have the confidence to then go outside of myself and connect to my fellow beings. Do you think there's a sense of depression that's connected to loneliness where people are deflecting away from that openness to want to connect to other people and life, you know?
I think it goes both ways. I think there's definitely a move towards not wanting to connect in terms of the fear of being hurt, the fear of it not of not being enough. And then I
Fear,
also,
fear of rejection,
yeah,
maybe.
and then I also think there's the fear. Sorry, no, I think there's a desperation to connect, which also then is like this. It's almost the opposite of, well, so it is the opposite of not not making that attempt, is then trying too hard.
And connecting to all the wrong things and people and
Yeah,
places.
and putting yourself out there as something that you're not,
Yeah.
to fulfill that sort of part of you. It-
So
and
trying to fit in rather
yeah,
than belonging.
yeah,
Yeah.
and and it's that sense of, doing whatever you need to get along and to be part of the group,
Mm,
and then actually finding out that's not fulfilling you either.
mm,
And it really is about you working out, and it's such a difficult thing to do. You're
mm.
working out what it is that fulfills you. um there's I can't remember who said it, but there was yeah, it was this idea that, that rather than dating apps, why don't you just go to places where people are doing the things you like, because then you'll meet people that like the same stuff as you, which
Makes
is
sense.
which is
Yeah.
yeah, it really makes sense. I'm really into yoga, so let's go to yoga classes and meet other people that are into yoga.
Or even if I'm not into yoga, I like the look of that, and I'm going to go there because I'd like to be
Yeah,
with someone that does yoga.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't know.
but it's all of those things. It's just like, you know we are we are finding it more and more difficult to connect, and that has been proven. Young people are finding it more and more difficult to make meaningful, positive connections. And there is this huge sort of feeling of loneliness that is sitting in society at the moment,
Mm.
feeling very isolated.
And we've covered this before, I'm sure. Well, I know we have. Is it fair to say, we're more and more disconnected and feeling alienated and separate and all of that stuff because the way we do connect,
Mm,
which is online.
mm.
So we've become lazy.
Yeah, it's really difficult to look someone in the eyes, isn't it? Not that, you don't have to, but to be close to people and to actually have that conversation. And there's an awkwardness to
Uh,
that.
and a fear of intimacy,
Yeah,
possibly,
yeah.
because they don't know how to. Some people want to just have the skills to actually know how to be intimate with someone,
Mm,
physically. Like, and I'm not talking about, you know, sexually, although maybe that is a problem as well. But I'm talking about just, you know, being with someone in their company and allowing yourself to be seen by them without hiding behind a fucking platform and doing emojis and shit.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I think you mentioned this before, but that I found after the pandemic and going back to gigs and going to see live music, the audiences had changed. Like
Yes,
the
yes,
expectation of people in a live uh, creative environment, people just didn't seem to be aware of personal space. They didn't seem to be aware that that their conversation wasn't what I'd come to listen to.
yeah,
It was I didn't want to see the gig through their phone. It's all of these things that it's like we've forgotten how to be in a public space with other people.
right. I'm gonna go off on one now. Fuck it. I'm gonna fucking unleash fury right now. Hold tight. Okay. It's just an observation. I'm not judging here, but it fucking winds me up. Right? Don't bring your fucking insanity from your house into a place where I'm trying to fucking chill out and eat,
Okay.
for example.
Hmm.
Right? Yeah? Your fucking madness that goes on in your house. I'm not going to judge you on that. Do what the fuck you want behind closed doors. I don't give a shit.
Hmm.
Doesn't bother me. It's irrelevant. Does not affect me one iota. And I'm saying this with love because, I love everyone. Okay. And I love you. You don't have to come in my house, right? But I'll still love you.
Hmm.
But I recognize I don't really want your insanity in my fucking house. Now, I'm a little bit out of control. I'm powerless over when I'm participating in a public space. Now, I'm not talking about airports because that's just a mad clusterfuck, like free for all. You can't possibly expect everyone just to have a bit of decorum and. But I'm talking about when you go to somewhere where they're serving you food and it's a proper, a space where you're going there primarily to eat food. And you've got fucking people's bullshit insanity that's spewing out all around you, and they're not taking any accountability to fucking try and. Well, they can't because they've got no skill in what they're doing to be able to even be aware that it's happening. They're unconscious. They're so fucking asleep with this shit. They're oblivious to it. That's how fucking far gone they are with this shit. No, I've got to say it again. I love these people. I have love in my heart for the people that I'm slating right now. But I don't want to let this sort of shit in my house. Now, when I go to a restaurant, I'm saying I don't need that shit, man. And I'll be the one will say to the front of house, can you steal this shit? 'Cause this shit is really bugging me. Do I sound like I'm getting a real like
Is this something that's happened to you recently?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
and it really annoys me. Do you think I'm being a bit of a princess?
Uh, no, no, I get it. I think we have. It feels to me like we are struggling in many public places now to be together.
Mm.
I think we are very selfish,
Yeah. Do I just quickly? I need to add more sort of
flesh to the
details.
bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm talking about families that have young people who just are fucking feral. Now, where I am,
Hmm.
there's loads of them, but the young people are feral in a really cool way.
Hmm.
Like, they're really cool. They're not like annoyingly feral. They're sort of barefoot feral. I'm talking about these little fuckers that have no means to, um, like what you were saying. They don't know how to behave in public.
Hmm.
Right? And you know what? This shit goes on in schools. I know it does. I watch it.
Hmm.
It goes on everywhere, and certain people have no control over it. It's out of control. And I could give more details, but I just can't be asked to bore myself or anyone else with it. So you get the flavour of what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I think so.
It's just like other people's insanity. It's the stuff that goes on behind closed doors.
Mm,
You know, it sounds like I'm passing judgment. It's an observation. I'm just recalling what I see when I go out and I might be in somewhere. And it doesn't have to be a food establishment, it could be anywhere. There's a real sort of inability to conduct oneself. And like, yeah, young people, of course, it's not, I'm not saying they should be seen and not heard. That's bullshit.
hmm
I'm all for young people being running around being fucking free spirit. I'm all for that. I'm an advocate for that. But it ain't that what I'm describing. I'm probably not describing it properly. Um, it's just dysfunction, family dysfunction in public. It's
Yeah,
quite a. But maybe it's because of what I do for my work,
yeah,
And I just when I go out, I don't want to feel like I'm fucking on a job.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, I know there's situations I've been in where I've seen young people be mishandled or prejudged.
Yeah.
There's an expectation from adults where I've seen young people that are already, you know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're going to do they're going to do the thing that is going to make everyone's lives difficult.
And it's not the young person's fault. It's not
No.
their fault, right? I'm having a gripe at because I sound like I'm having a real moan at. I'm not. It's not the young person's fault. It ain't their fault.
Mm,
They're the scapegoat, right? It's the elders that are completely, you know, not dealing with it. They're not handling the situation. They haven't got the minerals, and it ain't their fault either because they've never been taught it. So it goes on and on and on and on and on. Anyway.
I think being a parent is can be I'm just going to caveat that can be a very, very lonely place
Mm,
because I think especially with young children, the pressure that puts on your relationship with the person you've chosen to have those young people with
mm,
has got to be so strong because you are you're basically working on no sleep,
mm.
and you're also it's for something I think I don't know how many adults do this, but you're actually you actually sat down and go, what are our values, what are our ideals for this young thing that we're bringing into the world?
Yeah,
And it as you said is there's so much uh unskillful behavior and so much dysfunction, at whatever level, that then leads to those behaviors, becoming worse or becoming something bigger. And yeah, it just feels to me like we're missing a trick in terms of how we are conducting relationships. And I think that's just human nature.
mm,
But the fact that we don't work on that, the fact we don't do more study of human, it's why psychology is such a powerful
mhm.
subject in schools now. Kids absolutely eat it up because it's understanding yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of young people that I've been involved with have gone on to university to study it.
Mm.
They really want to know more about it, and they're already in a process of self-introspection,
Yeah.
which I sort of am part of, and then they get so into it, and then they want to go and help other people. So there's a lot of good people out there. So
Yeah.
I think what I was just describing, I feel like I needed to get that off my chest, so thank you for allowing me to do that. And you know, it's just me venting something. It's a little pet gripe. I don't have many of them, but it's just one of them. And I think it is because it is. I know it is. It's because of the work I do. I sometimes I go places where I just want to sit and be and have a bit
Yeah.
of munch, just have a little nice nibble, a bit of munch, bit of head space, and then you get the token scenario where it's just like sod's law. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, and it's like it's not being dealt with, and I feel like it's just something that always goes on. It don't matter where you are. I have no control and power over it, and I have to practice what I preach. I have to just, it's okay. So I let go. Got a filter. Don't attach. Don't let it affect me. But sometimes it does because I'm just human and I'm just sharing that. Anyway, do you reckon we've got enough in what we've just covered to I don't know. I feel like this is a big one. I feel like there's so much more. I feel like we've just scratched the surface. If
I
I'm,
think, yeah, and I think loneliness is one that we could revisit a number of times and come out with a totally different outcome each time.
yeah.
And I mean, I also think that, like you know, L didn't have of a lot of words in it in terms of traits and emotions, but like love, like we haven't done that, and I think you could do a whole season on love and different types of love,
Oh God, yeah.
and yeah, a whole sort of subsection of episodes. So yeah, I think loneliness is similar to that. Loneliness is such an impactful feeling, and I think it's very, very relevant to where we are at this moment in time. And yeah, I'm sure we will come back and do it
Oh,
again.
okay. Well, look, I just want to put something out there, right, and to end on, right, which is I've always said this as you. There's a lot of crossovers in what we do, right?
Mhm.
Now, anyone that's stumbled across what we've talked about, right, I would encourage you if you already haven't to either stick with it and continue to listen each week because everything we cover and everything that's preceded this, from the letter A right to where we are now, right? There's crossovers.
Mm,
They are all interlinked. You could listen to the first episode, Aggression, and I'm pretty sure, and I will stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure that there'll be takeaways from aggression that are relative to what we're talking about on lonely and
yeah.
loneliness, and vice versa.
Mm,
And that goes for every single episode that we've covered. I really truly believe that there's a lot of crossovers that are relative, they're all interlinked into each other, because to me, why am I feeling angry? Where's my anger coming from? Maybe there's some loneliness, you know? There's that classic thing, halt. It's a classic counseling, psychological, therapeutic um, indicator of if there's a problem. The halt, HALT, hungry, alone. No, what is it? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's millions of those
yeah.
acronyms. But where am I feeling? What's happening? Am I feeling hungry? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling hangry? Hangry. Do I feel lonely? And am I tired?
You want a lonely meal which doesn't make you angry.
Yeah, what I described is I'm fucking hungry, right? I just want to eat in fucking silence, right? So that's where the anger's coming in,
Yeah,
right?
and you're
And
probably a bit
then,
tired.
and I'm definitely tired, right?
Yeah,
And I just want some headspace.
yeah.
And where does the loneliness come into that? So this is what we're doing, all right? So I feel like it's impossible for us to have all the answers. I feel like, as always, I feel like just talking about it and trying to make sense of stuff is what we're doing.
Mm, very much so. Yeah,
All right, Mr. Rice. Do you feel do you feel nourished by what just happened? You're tired. I'm tired.
yeah, Yeah.
Do you feel it was okay? Do you feel like it was on par with it?
Yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was an interesting conversation, and it took us some different places. And yeah, as I said, I mean, loneliness is such a massive, massive area
Mm.
that I could. Yeah, there's loads more that I could keep talking about, but I think, yeah,
Okay.
in terms of what we've done, I think it's a good place to start.
Cool. All right. Well, look, and we didn't talk about. Look, and I'm thinking it's important we didn't. You know, we covered your tubes
Oh,
last week,
yeah, yeah.
and I didn't really want to get into it again. I feel like there was. I listened to that back actually. It was quite something. Let me tell you.
Okay.
But I didn't ask you. How's your?
How's my backside? It's sore. It's
Okay,
sore.
we'll leave it at that. All right.
Yeah, the bottle is out. Otherwise, I would show you the bottle. But yeah,
Right.
I'm now healing.
Good.
Now healing.
That's nice to hear. All right. Well, continue that, and
Thanks so much.
I'll see you on the next one.
Take care, Mr. Noble. Have a good day.
All right. Adios. See you later.